This is not a test. Don't expect to be impressed. Put on your life vest. Sit down your armrest. It's time to stray from the grind. Don't take my hand, 'cause you'll find no peace of mind. Side quest.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Authors and Dragons Side Quest, the episodes we do in between the episodes of the game for which this podcast is named, and I have the ever-increasing task of finding more burdensome ways to manage this introduction. But I am Drew Hayes. Joining me today are Rick Gualtieri, Judy Black, maybe Robert Bevan, and we are talking to Actus, author of the newly released book Green Blood, the newest entry in the My Best Friend is an Eldritch horror series.
Hey, it's nice to be with you all. I've been reading a lot of your books for a while, too, so this is a very exciting opportunity for me.
Well, we're very excited to have you, man. How is the release going so far? It came out a couple of days ago, our time.
Yeah, pretty dang well. It hit top 400 on Amazon, which I'm very, very pleased with. And it's a bit of an anomaly since... Thank you. It's the first time Amazon hasn't broken during one of my releases. My debut novel release was Morphster Chef, was like a cooking-themed novel, very niche. But it came out on the day that AWS went down completely. So everything broke. That was fun. And
Ouch.
Every launch since has gone about the same. So
That's a high bar to keep hitting.
Yeah, setting the
Yeah,
tone.
I keep going, like, at this point I almost want it to happen because it's like it's habit. I can't break the tradition.
It's like you release a book and like Jeff Bezos is somewhere going, fuck this guy.
You
Honestly.
You submit your next one to KDP, you just get a call, they're like, listen, we will pay you 140% royalties to go to Smashwords.
I have had authors specifically in Avon, the publisher I'm with. The other authors have been like, hey, can you not launch us on the same day as Actus?
Oh no! Ouch.
Hey, everybody knows when Actus is launching.
That is true. It's just like a day to avoid.
Like, where'd Amazon go? Must be another Actus book.
Actus!
Honestly.
I feel like that's going to be the thing every time Amazon's down. We'll just assume Actus is launching.
Oh boy.
Like, oh, all right, we'll go check for a new book. So I guess tell us about the My Best Friend is an Eldritch horror series. That's the one that you have out right now. I'm assuming the one you're promoting the most. So
Yeah, it's definitely my main series. It's the one I've had the most fun writing since it's the least niche amongst everything I've written, which isn't saying much if you look at the very obvious Korean light novel title. But it's essentially, I really like magic school style stories, so it's kind of my take on that. It's the title's honestly pretty self-explanatory. The main character summons an eldritch monster on accident because he's too impatient to wait for a normal companion to summon. And it's just kind of him trying to not destroy the world on accident while, going through, normal magic school scenarios. So it just kind of hits a lot of the tropes that I like writing in. And it's lighthearted. It's not super deep or anything like that. It's fun.
definitely a lot of fun to be had writing in a school environment.
Yeah.
I get the appeal there.
Hey, there's Bob.
Hey!
Hello, friends.
All right, we will keep you in the intro. This is, I think, the newest one you have in your newest series. So how long have you been writing and releasing for? It has to be a little bit to have
It's
built up 2 other series first.
Yeah, so I started writing, my parents are like, oh, you started when you were a kid because you were telling stories. I was just a liar. I like lying. If you count when I actually started putting words to the keyboard, that would have been I was probably about 11 when I wrote my first book. It was god-awful, as I'm sure you would all expect. But I published
First books are always god-awful.
Yeah.
Part of the
Now,
process.
compound that with a 12-year-old. doesn't turn out too well. But yeah, I published my first book when I was 12, self-published. It was terrible. But I did get one review that said, this book reads like it was written by a 12-year-old, which I was like, you know what, I'm going to take that.
I feel like that might be one of the first times that's just like, yeah, man,
Yeah.
what of it?
Yeah.
Factually accurate.
Bring it.
You want to tell me about how blue the fucking sky is next?
I wrote a few after that one, kind of like anime ripoffs, realistically. Like, I watched something, I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to do it. And I just kind of did it. And I didn't have much creativity, we'll be real. I just, I was like, I want to try writing. But I did that for a few years, up until like 2020, I think. I wrote like five books. They're all unpublished now because they're all terrible. But the current series I have under the pen name Actus, that started in late 2020, like the Christmas of 2020. So about 2 years for everything I have on Amazon right now.
Wow, that is a pretty brisk pace, man. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
I will say the part you described of seeing something and saying I want to try that is a really genuine part of like evolving as an author. I think is that most of us start off saying like, well, I like this, so I'm going to try to do my version of this, and it's almost always a shitty version of that.
Yeah.
You're new, you're learning. Writing,
Yeah.
people don't emphasize enough. Writing is a skill. It's a thing you do and get better at because you worked at it. And yeah, I feel like that doesn't really get talked about enough. I feel like we all go through that, like, I'm going to try to write like a Dresden Files, and, and then you just slowly kind of piece together, okay, these are the things I'm actually good at. These are the things I just thought I would be good at.
There's a downside there. It's like, it's something you do and you get better at. But here's the problem is if you spend enough time in the author community and you listen to people and they start telling you all the rules of writing, that's how you actively get worse at it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the less you know, the better you are.
I have a degree in English and I barely fucking paid attention.
I see something on TV and I don't say I'm going to do that, but I will take elements that I like and say, oh, I'd like to include this sort of thing in a story or a book. And,
yeah, what's the old saying? Good authors borrow, great authors steal.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I wouldn't mind doing the Polar Express if everybody were like pedophile assholes,
Yeah.
I was expecting zombies.
I was expecting zombies too, and you know what? That's just Train to Busan, motherfucker.
Which is so good, though. It's so
amazing.
good.
Oh God, Train to Busan at Christmas would be so much better.
Oh my God, new Christmas movie.
You could start at the same place and come to wildly different stories.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Polar Express is also a train full of zombies.
Oh, I got that lecture at Christmas this year. Don't make me listen to it again.
We were watching it, and I had to remind my wife of Bob's hot chocolate picture.
Oh, God.
God.
Not a fan of Polar Express?
Fan's a way to describe it.
That is the movie my family watches every year at Christmas Eve, and we are required to have hot chocolate during the hot chocolate song every year.
I mean, there's worse traditions than hot chocolate.
Yeah, there's Polar Express.
That feels like it would have gotten old really, really fast.
It's very cute, but yeah, for some reason, no one is ever prepared for the actual hot chocolate song, so we spend 45 minutes making hot chocolate for the hot chocolate scene that everyone knew was coming.
Yeah, that's all that movie needs is to be longer.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's a very cute tradition. It just, 1 year we'll get the hang of it. We've only been doing it like 10 plus years. It's fine.
Next year.
Next year.
I'm pretty sure the tradition here is my wife will sit down and watch, and my wife will hope that I will walk out of the room so I don't comment throughout the entire thing. Oh, look, the poor kid's getting on the train. Let's get him!
So, Actus, I wanted to ask you, that's a pretty unique pseudonym. Is there a story behind that one? Just a random collection of syllables?
Kind of. I was trying to make a pen name a few years ago for Amazon, and I came to Actus Alter, which I thought was first act. I honestly don't remember if it actually is first act. People have asked me this. I don't actually think it is. I'm pretty sure I'm wrong, but someone's welcome to correct me. But for Amazon, when I signed with my publisher, they're like, well, we can't use the same name. We got to get a new slate. And I'm like, well, I don't want to make a new one. So we're chopping the last name off. Can we just do a one-name one? They're like, yeah, sure. So I just kind of stuck with it.
Why did you have to change your name for Amazon?
Because my previous books hadn't been like super successful. So if you launch
Gotcha.
like a bad book and then if you launch a new one, Amazon kind of kicks you into the gutter.
I don't know. That's kind of a shitty thing for a publisher to say.
Well, the publisher was like, well, no, I was the one who said it. I mean, my book had like 20 ratings or something. Like, that's not one you want to be kicking off a career on if you're trying to make a lot of money.
I also would appreciate a publisher who at least let me walk into that situation with open eyes, being like, hey, if you stick with this name that's associated with these old books, you're starting from a deficit. I definitely would rather know that than not.
Yes, absolutely.
And in the end, it didn't change anything because Amazon still kicks me into the gutter every time I launch. So.
Amazon kicks themselves into the gutter, apparently.
That is true.
I'm going to tell you, top 500 is not in the gutter, but not
no,
at all.
I'm really happy with the ratings, but man, I just love to have one launch where nothing goes wrong.
That is a very reasonable expectation.
As long as they don't start sending the checks to somebody else, you're doing okay.
I don't think they've done that yet.
Yeah, that's the screw up you want to avoid.
Oof.
We'll give them like a few years. Amazon's really good at inventing new ways to make things bad on the platform. So.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, yes. And Audible, too.
Genuinely shocked. I launched a new book last month, and Posthumous Education, Fred 8, slipping in a quick plug there. Audio coming out on the 16th, I believe. But for the first time, I think, ever, Goodreads put it under me instead of the former Drew Hayes.
Wow.
Because for just like the past every book it releases, it goes to the wrong Drew Hayes. I have to submit to a Goodreads librarian, please fix this. And they do, very nicely. They fix it as quick as they can. And then rinse, wash, repeat. Until this time, finally something changed.
Are you kidding? I think Dragon has finally got the hint that you are a living being. Every year we get this imposter. It's like it's not funny.
That whole "yes, I'm alive" thing on my site's gonna be real awkward when I inevitably die.
That's where you need to make sure it stays up.
100 years from now, there will be another Drew Hayes that will be publishing and being like, "No, I didn't write Corpies. Stop asking."
So you wrote Poison Elves? God damn it!
Honestly, I just hope in 100 years there's a marketplace other than Amazon. So we're not still dealing
there
with
are
it.
other marketplaces. It's just that most of them suck.
I don't know if you can call it a marketplace if you can't sell anything.
100 years, I don't give a shit. I'll be dead.
Yeah.
It's sort of it's like, I mean, you can go to other places. Are you going to make money there? Fuck no.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe make like, $5 off of Google Play every month,
I mean, for Google Play, you've got to be in the top 1%.
Yeah, I mean, it does suck for us as authors to be penned in, but on the other hand, who is competing with Amazon? Who is drawing in customers like they are? Like, you have to have a platform that's viable for us to start rolling our content onto it.
Yeah, I mean, ignoring the fact that, one, it's a lot easier to manage having one version of a book as opposed to 15 for every different store out there. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I've had books on Kobo for years, and I have no fucking idea how anybody buys anything on Kobo. No idea.
So, Actus, you do Royal Road as a platform too, correct?
Yeah, it's definitely the main platform I use to get started.
Awesome. What was your experience like there? That's not something I think any of us have really messed around with. I did serials before that was a thing, so I kind of missed the train there.
It's definitely it's a mixed bag for sure. There's a lot of really big benefits, I think, especially for new authors and discoverability. Because if no one knows who you are and you don't have a giant publisher pushing your name, it's kind of hard to get someone to buy your book, even if it is Kindle Unlimited. Because no one knows who you are, and you're not going to get very high on that launch day unless you get really lucky. So Royal Road's great because you can print, if you're a decent author, you can very easily hit front page. Like, you write your book, you drop 40,000 words or so, you'll hit the front page. You may not be able to get like 100,000 followers, but you can get like a nice following, and you can kind of start getting some feedback for your work, and start getting an audience that when you do go to Amazon, because that's basically what almost everyone does.
Sure, I mean,
you have maybe 100 people download your book day one. That gives it a huge boost.
Is there what genres are on Royal Road? Because I thought it was mostly lit RPG.
It's lit RPG and progression fantasy, and if you're delusional, anything else. But...
Look, some places have the markets they have. There was one a while ago that was only superhero shit got traction. Like,
really? Which one was that? I've never even heard of that.
That was way back in like the web fiction guide days, which doesn't even exist anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah. The only things that do well in Royal Road, lit RPG is like the biggest, like isekai lit RPG. If you want to shoot for honestly, I haven't seen an isekai lit RPG do like huge recently. But that, like, if you look at like the top Royal Road books that went to Amazon, or even just the current ones, I think almost all of them are a lit RPG isekai of some sort.
That definitely seems to be the hot genre right now. When we were first starting out, it was, I think, superheroes was the one that was just kind of constantly spiking, but over the past decade, it has very visibly shifted over to the, I think, general progression fantasy slice.
Yeah.
Which is good. I know a lot of folks who are making some good success on that.
Yeah.
Our buddy Matt Dinneman, I think, falls under that umbrella.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a Dungeon Crawler Call, right?
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And a reminder that Matt Dinneman will be at Authors and Dragons Con in August in Portland, for anybody out there.
Super nice guy, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. Such a cool dude. He and I are actually going to both be at a thing in Denver at the end of March called Readers Take Denver. It's a reader event. I don't totally know what to expect because I think it's a little different than a convention. So come on out and find out with us together. It looks fun. It does look fun. It just looks like a different focus than a con.
It's always weird going to non-conventions after so many conventions. I'm like, what? Where are the cosplayers? Like, what is happening? Where am I?
That actually brings us to another good question for Actus. What's your convention scene look like this year for 2023? Have you got anything locked in, like for appearances and whatnot?
So I'm going to Dragon Con. I have absolutely no idea if they're going to accept me as a professional. I applied. We'll see. But I am going. I got like all the stuff. So if they don't let me in as a cool kid, then I'll be sad and coming up the sidelines. And I'll cough up the money to go normally. But yeah, I'll be there
you can
one
still
way
come
or the
hang out
other.
in the bar.
Yeah.
That's where the action is.
That's very true.
It is. It's a. We'll help you find the bar.
Yeah.
Just look for John Hartness and the people gathered around him.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually the Weston bar.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
Weston.
John is mayor of that place. And I mean that in the best way. If you've ever seen John at a con, he's kind of the mayor of every convention now that I think about it.
But yeah, Dragon Con's it's the first convention I'll be going to, and I think it's right now at least it's the only one I'm going to this year, just because I can't justify too many expenses quite yet. I'm not making that much.
Yeah, that was one I was going to ask about. I skimmed through your AMA and I saw you mention that you were working on a master's in electrical engineering. So
yes.
That's something you've been doing on top of writing, what, about 9 books in the last 2 years? So, the fuck do you sleep, man? That's not a BA in English. You're not bullshitting your way through that degree.
He probably has his blood is probably all caffeine by now.
Yeah, I don't get as much sleep as I should, I think. And you definitely can BS your way through a lot more than you think.
Boy.
But
trust me, I know.
But yeah, it's a little rough at times. I've gotten through the worst of it. Junior year was god awful back in undergraduate. That was a miserable time. But after that, it's kind of gotten a little easier. I have more free time, and so I just kind of spend time I should be studying, writing instead. It's a great motivator.
I mean, when you're doing that well, it's definitely not time misspent.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully it's paying some of those tuition bills, because if so, that's pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely getting there. It's getting there. Hopefully, I want to go full time soon. I don't know how soon. Ideally, before I actually have to do any actual engineering. But
That's fair.
It's a hell of a
That's
backup
fair.
plan.
yeah. You should have seen my senior design. In undergrad, in our senior year, we had to do a design project. Man, you should have seen mine. It was the biggest steaming pile of garbage. They can't take it back. It's too late. It's done. They gave me the grade, but it was awful. It was so bad.
I'm imagining just a giant, complicated Rube Goldberg machine that turns on a neon sign that says, "I don't want to be here."
I wish it was that interesting. It was a website where you can upload images and photos, and it predicted what image or photo you were uploading.
I thought you were going to say, it's like, look, I invented Facebook.
It just like took a whole bunch of images and like turned them into an AI that could reproduce them. I don't know. I don't think anybody ever cared about it.
Oh, God.
We had it was supposed to be an AI project where the whole point was it predicted if we were going to upload an image or a text or a video. But what we ended up doing is basically an if loop that like just counted the number of video, text, and image uploads, and whichever one was higher, that's what it predicted.
Nice. I love it. Nice.
Some fine AI there.
Yeah, it's a great AI.
There's a I can't remember the exact term for it in writing, but it's basically simple solutions to complex problems. That makes me think of that. If anybody ever read the Myth series by Robert Asprin, he was the fucking master of that move.
I think from a more classic perspective, that's ignore the man behind the curtain.
Yep.
I'm there with you, man. Back in college, I handed in this C++ assignment, basically counting on the fact that the guy who was the professor was also one of the deans, that he was not going to try to compile it because it did not run.
Oh, bold strategy. Did that pay off?
It paid off. A+ in the class.
Wow.
I've done similar. I have for that project, they were supposed to be able to run the website on any computer, but it only worked because the whole thing is you're supposed to click one button and start the whole thing. But I couldn't get it. Was me and a partner. I couldn't get the thing to work without an initial command. Like you had to type it into the terminal and then start it, but it wouldn't work. So when I submitted the website, I took it all apart and sent it in a bunch of different folders. I was like, "There's no way they're going to spend the time to put this back together." So it worked. They didn't check.
That's working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's actual real world job experience right there.
Oh yeah.
How do I sell this horse shit?
God, my very first job, I worked at a car wash, and the guy had a placard on his desk that says something: "If you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit."
Baffle them with your bullshit. Yeah, it's a classic.
Man, I missed out on learning so much from first jobs.
I don't think you did. I think you're much better off not.
I was trying to think, what did I learn from my postal machine selling as my first job out of college?
Well, my first job was selling hentai at conventions.
Okay.
When I was 16.
We definitely need to touch up on this.
I thought we were talking about first job post-college. That's creepier, though.
Yeah, I wasn't tall enough to see over the stack of hentai, so they had to have me stand on a chair.
Oh boy, that is a lot.
How did you get past the hiring process?
The hiring process was me going up to the booth and saying, "Hi, do you need help?" And the person behind the booth saying, "Yes, I will give you a plushie for 3 hours of work." And there we went.
So did you specifically choose the hentai booth on purpose?
This sounds like a place that was prepared to hire children to sell porn.
Yeah, I was going to say, please tell me it wasn't one of those plushies.
No, I actually...
They had that deal locked and loaded, yeah.
I can see the plushie from where I'm sitting. It was from .hack. But yeah, that was so... Yeah, I probably learned a lot from that job, I'm sure.
I mean, not all lessons are pleasant. So my first job was I worked as a clerk in a KB Toys, which used to exist in a mall, which also used to exist.
I was gonna say I don't even know what that is.
God, we're
Oh
old.
gosh.
It was a toy store that was very middle of the road and forgettable.
Very.
We had a prank war with the Gap across the hall that was the most interesting part of it because our managers knew each other and were friends.
Yeah, I mean, but KB Toy. I mean, if you were in the mall, that was when you were a kid. That was a place to visit.
It was.
I mean, even though you knew it was like kind of like a bottom basement Toys R Us.
Yeah. Apparently, it was also a place to just drop your fucking kid for an hour or so.
Trust me, I had parents. My parents dropped me off.
Yeah. That was you learn that people are real cavalier about just chucking their kids in a toy store. And then working during the Christmas season, especially Black Friday, you learn that humans are bad. They're just
worst.
bad inside.
Yeah.
All right, so Actus, I can see you have a bunch of pre-order stuff up there. So tell us a little bit about, like, obviously it's cruel to ask what's next when you just had a launch, but that doesn't stop readers from doing it. So what's next?
I have a lot of stuff next. I keep getting shit from a lot of the other authors I know because every time I finish a series, I start a new one, and I like starting series. So I have 2 finished series, and I immediately started 2 new ones. So I have 3 active basically at all times. So right now,
I mean, what would you do when you finished a series if not start a new one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I know are like, just write one book forever.
Oh, that sounds rough.
You know something? It's rough, but it works for some. I mean, I know authors who basically they have one series, they're at book like 36, and it's like they don't even care if people drop off because the funnel is just so long on that. It's like, like sales wise, it's pretty crazy. So there is some logic to that. I'm with you. I would get bored as fuck doing that.
Yeah.
But that's
I can understand.
I can't do it. I think the web serial space.
Yeah, I tried to start a new series and it tanked my fucking career.
No.
There's also that.
Yeah, there's a risk too.
I was going to say, I think the web serial space in particular very much lends itself toward very, very long 2,000 chapter books, which is why. So I come in, I'm like, oh yes, I started a new series, sorry, and you guys are all more traditional authors. You're like, that's what you're supposed to do. That's the norm. But most of the guys I know, they're like, stop writing new books, just write one. I'm like, no, I get bored. I have the attention span of a hamster. I finished. I need a new one.
I mean, yeah, you can go on forever if that works for the story you're telling. I mean, there are definitely authors who have gone like in perpetuity. You could argue Discworld, but that was really more of a setting that was a spoken hub for a whole lot of different ones.
Yeah.
Dresden's been going for a long ass time.
But one of the good things of having those multiple things is like, is different stories appeal to different people, so you have different entry points there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The downside I'm going to say is that you're going to have some people who love one series and hate the other series. Like my absolute worst reviews are from like on Bigfoot Hunters, for example, are people who read it and they're like, well, it's not funny like his other stuff. It's not supposed to be funny. Don't give me a 1-star for it.
I think my first review on the first book of Eldritch, The Best Friend is an Eldritch Horror, Black Mist. The first review I got, either in Australia or the UK, I can't remember which one, was 1 star. He should have written Morkster Chef instead.
Oh, no.
I know. It's like you don't want to reach to the screen and just...
I'm like, dude, this just makes me want to write that even less.
And especially if it's a series that you have ended. Like, if you've concluded the series, like, if you've brought things to a satisfying conclusion, that's a good thing. People should congratulate and cherish that. Endings are nice. Catharsis is nice.
Yeah,
ending is good.
Mm-hmm.
And it saves the story from just turning into one of those endless slogs where it's like, oh my god, they're doing the same thing for the 400th time. The Sansia in a nutshell.
Yeah, what was it? Like going back to the anime thing you were talking about earlier. Like my wife and I were big fans of Inuyasha, but after a while, the manga just like became essentially, okay, we're just going to rehash the same story over and over and over again until finally it was like they were ready to end it, and it was almost like, thank God, we can check out of this world finally.
But now they have
Yeah.
Inuyasha's kids series.
Do
Yes,
they
I
actually?
know.
Yeah,
Yep.
they
Oh my
do.
God, I didn't even know
They have the
that.
it's
The
not. I don't know
Yashahime.
that a lot of people like it.
It's
don't
not
think
bad. It's actually not. Something. It had a slow start, but I don't know if they started a second season or not yet. But it picked up.
Okay, I just have gone by the number of cosplayers I've seen at conventions for it, which has been 2.
I do feel like Inuyasha might have sort of run itself into the ground with the because I don't think the anime was a whole lot better than the manga. I know I watched it in high school and then like pretty much fell off. I was like, all right, this shit's getting real repetitive.
Yeah, I think I skimmed through the last. I don't know how many episodes were in the thing. It was fairly long though. I think I skimmed
That's
through
a
a
lot.
lot of the ending, and then it ended. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, but some people are like, say, with One Piece, ride or die, which apparently that thing is just going to go into like the creator just like just drops that at his desk someday.
I will give credit
I'll
though.
say I love One Piece. It's good.
Yeah, One Piece is moving. It is changing. Like the characters grow, the story shifts. Like it is an epic. The guy is clearly telling an epic in the truest sense of the word. And while it is massive, and yes, there is absolutely some bloat in that son of a bitch.
Especially the anime.
yeah, you can't accuse him of standing in place. Like that story is moving forward, and that I also would hold that up as an example of one of the long forms that works.
Yeah.
Probably not for
ending.
everybody. That style is never going to be for everybody, but if you enjoy that long ass form, One Piece is giving what you would want from it.
Yeah, and it's got an ending plan too.
Yeah, I've never gotten past the first season because I'm one of those. It's like looking at the length of it. Like I every time I look at it, I'm like, okay, how much more to go? And it's like, I just want to watch this. I don't want to marry it.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for a commitment with this.
There's pluses and minuses to the way you're doing it. On the one hand, you would have people who would stick with something forever. On the other, I like the whole concept of not putting all eggs in one basket, giving people like options, that they can then if there's something else of yours they want to read, there's there's that.
Yeah.
So I dig the way you're doing it.
Yeah. Mine fundamentally comes to I am always thinking of what story do I want to tell because that's the thing I'll do best, and that's why I break out of my genres a lot. Is because if I've told a D&D style spells and swords story, I want to tell something different. I might want to tell superheroes or weird detective buddy comedies or etc. So like I'm definitely on your side of write what you want to write, follow your gut. It's clearly not serving you wrong.
Yeah, for me it's definitely characters. I like to have a small set of core characters in every story, but I eventually get bored. I'm like, okay, I have a story, I had like an ending planned. I can't keep this going. I don't care how much money it's making. It's like I can't do it. I get bored.
See, that's why you need to try horror, because those characters, when you get bored of them, you just kill them.
Easy solution.
I like lighthearted stuff. Most of the time, my main characters win, and there isn't a ton of loss. There is some, but my audience definitely generally expects, okay, if this is an Actus book, chances are things are going to go fairly well. Like, the middle of the book can be as dark as I want, but they usually know, okay, I'm not going to end it with everyone dropping dead.
And that's good. That means that you are doing a good job in keeping a consistent voice and tone. That's one of the things that really, I think, helps you grow and build a brand is such the bad word. A readership is probably better. But it is a little bit brand of just the ultimate goal is to not be in a genre, it is to be a genre in the way that I pick up a Stephen King book and I know it is a Stephen King book. I know there are going to be hallmarks that are associated with his writing style, and that's what I'm there for. So, the ultimate goal is to be your genre, to be a Drew Hayes book, a Rick Terry book, an Actus book, a Judy Black book, a Robert Bevan God Help Us All book.
Well, every family's a pedophile. This is either Stephen King or a Robert Bevan book.
Oh, no.
Oh, Stephen King. All right. 50-50. He's getting back into that original It energy, I see.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
I'm in good company.
Oh, God.
I mean, it's worked for him.
Speaking of Stephen King, he is currently keeping me from rank 1 in like multiple different categories on Amazon right now.
Yeah, they're assholes about that.
In one of the categories, he's got 2 books. It's the same book twice. and so I'm number 3, and he's 1 and 2 with the exact same book.
Oh no!
Is it the print and the audio?
I think it's the print and the Kindle, and I don't know how he did that, but
God damn,
I'm just
getting
sitting
a
there
print
like,
that
all
high
right.
is genuinely impressive.
Right?
Those things are hard to move.
Oh,
Yeah.
he gets it because he's Stephen King, and they're giving him some treatment that the rest of us are not getting.
I also feel like if anybody's just going to move a shitload of physical media, it's going to be someone with a readership who is older.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where you've got more people who are still like, give me that physical book.
Yeah.
Definitely. How about audio? Do you have anything going on there?
Audiobooks? Yeah. I've got audiobooks for almost all of my novels. And the ones that don't have audiobooks will have audiobooks. They're just a little delayed. But everything I do usually has a dual release. So it comes out either at the same time or, in the case of like the Steamforged series, it's kind of delayed, but at some point in the next month or few, it should show up.
Oh,
I mean, that's impressive. I'm going to be honest. I think most of us don't do dual release.
are you kidding? My last Bent book, which came out in the summer, is finally coming out in audio this month.
I'm aiming for one with Villains Vignettes Volume 1 coming out later in 2023. Just because I'm so far ahead on that one for once. And I just had Fred 8 drop, so no, I don't really need to do one too soon. I don't want to crowd it. So fingers crossed. If Tantor has the schedule that works with Amy, I would love to do a dual release on that.
Yeah, I had a simultaneous release with Carnage à Trois, Bill of the Dead 3, and I thought it was going to be great, except then Audible screwed me by immediately. The book came out and they immediately put it on sale.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there was nothing I could do or say, and I just watching as I'm like, wow, I lost a lot of money on this deal because they were just like, oh hey, thanks, for sale.
Yeah.
Are you through ACX, Rick? Or I guess were you through ACX?
Okay, so I am half and half. So half my books are through ACX, and probably the other half are through Tantor. It's almost like an even split.
Gotcha. Actus, how about you? Do you go through a production company? Do you do straight on the ACX line?
I did once. I did ACX, but at this point, I kind of just let my publisher handle everything. I'm lazy, and they tend to do a pretty good job. So I think they kind of do everything. I just give them the book, and I'm like, all right, go do the stuff. And then when it gets published, it's got audio and ebook at the same time. Most of the time.
Nice.
Kind of gave up on Steamforged.
We're so used to talking to indies. I don't think I even caught that you said you had a publisher, but you definitely did. So, yeah, who do you publish through? Tell us about that.
Avon. They're definitely a smaller publisher, but they're getting pretty dang big. They most of the big novels coming out of Royal Road, not all of them, but definitely a very, very hefty chunk of them are through Avon. And they've been doing pretty dang well with getting them to do great on Amazon, which is the main reason I signed with them. I mean, their Primal Hunter, He Who Fights with Monsters, Defiance of the Fall, a whole bunch more that are, 3, 4, 5,000 review novels. So they're doing pretty damn well with just about everything they put out. So I was like, okay, they're willing to work with me. Great. Saves me because I can't afford the marketing. It's just too expensive. And then the audiobooks and the covers. I did manage to convince them. My cover artist is someone when I was just starting out writing, I got a cover with a guy and I really liked it. And he gave me a huge discount just to be nice. And then at some point we even started doing a webcomic, and he was working for peanuts because I split my Patreon, which at the time was like a $50 or $100 Patreon. I split it 50-50 with him, so he was doing the comic and getting half of it, which is severely underpaid. I knew it, but I was like, this is all I got. And he's like, yeah, I want to do it. This seems fun. And so I was like, okay, from here on out, you're my artist for everything. I'm going to pay you back at some point.
Well, that's super cool of you.
Yeah.
He does all of my art. Every book that comes out, he does the art because I won't let anyone else do the art for him. So I think I've managed to pay him back a little bit because he works full time for Avon now. So that's kind of cool.
That is much cooler than most people would be. So I applaud that.
Well, he's also a fantastic artist and a really nice guy. So I felt like I kind of had to.
Yeah, I was looking at your author page. These are some excellent covers. If y'all are out there listening, check it out. We will, of course, have a link in the description to check out all of Actus stuff. But They are definitely worth a look.
Yeah.
And I wanted to throw a little bit of perspective to you. The fact that your publisher is actually coordinating your audio releases, I can't tell you how many of the publishers who you would think would have that level of their shit together don't.
Yeah, not throwing any names.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
You would be stunned at the level of publishers who are still just like, all right, we'll put in your book. What about audio? What the fuck do you mean? I don't know. Figure it out.
Yeah, or they're like, yeah, we'll do audio, don't worry, and they just throw it up there with like 50 other people at the same time, and so all of you crash and burn.
Yep, you crash and burn together.
Most of them just don't even fucking do it that I've heard of. Like, it's just they just
it's the ones in
mess
my
with it, and so hats off to Avon, man. It sounds like they're doing right by their people.
Yeah, I really like working with them because I've started working with them more. I do their merchandise now because I convinced them that it was a good idea. I was like, hey, the other merchandise in the space is kind of garbage, and I can do better than this, like, really easily. So just let me do it. And they're like, all right, if you can prove it, and it worked out pretty well. And now they're expanding into comics, which I'm pretty hyped about. So I have several webcomics coming out over the course of 2023.
Very cool.
I think they're doing their authors really dang well. I like them a lot.
Sounds like it. All right. So you've kind of done a lot of the, it looks like mostly fantasy progression. It sounds like, the Royal Road stuff. Is there a genre in particular that you're like, man, I really love to take a bite out of that, but you just haven't got to it yet? You haven't found the right story or the right hook or what have you?
Urban fantasy is really interesting to me. It's one of the ones where I've been kind of side-eyeing it. It is rough to get into from what I've looked at. And I like it. It seems like a really interesting genre, and at some point I do want to try it. But I did the same thing with steampunk. I was like, man, steampunk is awesome. It's such a cool genre that's not really a ton of people writing it, but it's a very interesting aesthetic. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. And people were like, yo, you realize it's kind of dead. Like, no one reads that. And I'm like, yeah, but like maybe there's just not a good enough book in it yet. Well, you can go look at the review, the number of reviews on Steamforged Sorcery, and you will see that I was no different from everyone else.
Oh.
I mean, it seems like maybe as you get some momentum from these other series, maybe your back catalog will get a little more boost.
Yeah, I definitely learned my lesson of, okay, stick to the genres that actually work while you're smaller, and maybe once I have a few more readers, I can afford to dip my toes in something like urban fantasy where there's so much competition in it that, maybe I actually have a chance now. But until then, definitely sticking with the stuff that I know, just because I can kind of get what I want, even though I'm writing in lit RPG or progression fantasy, even if I don't want to write a very traditional one. My main thing is my ideas are usually niche, or I like being unique, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But I do like having unique premises, which means it's kind of harder to sell them sometimes. Like, again, like an orc chef isn't exactly a genre that you would think would be very popular with people that like hack and slash. But so I like to do the niche things, but you can still kind of work in the genre that people like get the lit RPG stats in there so you can sell a book that really isn't lit RPG, but has enough lit RPG in it that people that like lit RPG are going to be like, okay, yeah, I like this, even though it really doesn't have as much of the lit RPG as I'd like. It's still a good book. That's kind of what I've been doing. I kind of ride the line between progression fantasy and lit RPG and what I actually want to write, so I can kind of try to make everybody happy.
I gotcha. So it's a mechanism, sort of a platform to use that you can put the more complex story around.
Yeah, that's the main way I do it. It gives me enough of an audience to be able to write the story I kind of want to do, although I have to make some concessions to, it's got to hit like the certain if you can't let your main character get weaker. In progression fantasy, if the character gets weaker, your audience is gone. Everyone drops it at the same day. I've seen books lose like half or even more of their total follower count just from one chapter. And so I'm like, all right,
that's a trope that I think kind of hits beyond even that specifically. I think we've talked before about how the worst episodes of superhero shows are the ones where they're depowered. It's like, God,
they're awful. Yeah.
It's an inherently like, I know this isn't going to stick. This is a show called The Flash. This is a book about power creep. Like,
Right.
The inherent nature of this is that it's going to be about the power, so you're just fucking wasting my time, is what you're doing.
Yeah, it's just so unfun to see a character who you know can stomp like a bunch of idiots into the ground getting shit on because he lost his powers for some bullshit reason. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to say shit because I have a book in one of my But
Like-
even I admit, yes, I hate that trope.
The only times, and honestly, I can't even think of a specific instance, but I know I have seen it done. The only times when it has kind of worked is when it's used as a way to show off a different way in which they're a bad motherfucker. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, we took away your guns. It's like, oh, well, now you get to find out that I can beat your asses with my bare hands.
yeah.
That's a depowering I'm here for.
Yeah, but like those are the ones I definitely stay far away from. I'm like, all right, no need to test the waters there. We can play it safe.
It's, yeah, honestly, the only way you can really do it is like a Vash the Stampede situation. It's like, oh, I'm so bad at everything. All right,
Yeah.
I'm done fucking around.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a classic. I love that anime.
Love it.
Oh, man. Speaking of things that didn't they get revivals or have revivals coming? There's a new version coming?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've heard of that. I don't know when it's coming though.
Yeah,
I-
I've seen the art of it. I have complex feelings about it.
As much
Please
as
don't tell me the whole thing is
I
3D.
do love that one, it is a little bit esoteric as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
truly like a foundational classic I love. I own the DVDs to this day,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
weird, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
not,
weird
yeah,
one.
yeah, not something I see like, needing a remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know what they're gonna change. They're just gonna update the graphics, I guess. Like the story was good,
Honestly, that
and the
if
graphics
they
are kind of
just
banger.
did a reskin of the art, like just made it with like a more updated, better, like a HD version. Like I don't even want them to change the style, just make it HD, like redo it nice
Yeah.
and crisp.
Oh,
That would be
mm.
okay.
I'm looking at the art again, and boy,
Is that not what we're getting?
he's so bishonen. He's so.
Oh,
Honestly, the art in it was honestly really good. Like I think it was like, still
was.
hand drawn at
It
the time,
was.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so good.
Unfortunately, things look dated by their nature, and it makes it
does
harder
look a
to
bit dated. Yeah.
sell people on it.
I think
So-
it actually is coming out on the 7th of this month. So
Oh,
man.
in a
How
few
long?
days we will.
To the people listening to this, it's already there.
It's
They can
already
look right
here.
now.
It's behind you right now.
As long as it's not like
we're
the 3D
recording this in the
rotoscoping.
last moments of innocence.
Oh, no, don't ruin my wolfwood.
If you are watching this podcast, we are all dead inside.
That's not predicated on Trigon. That's just a statement.
Oh Lord, what on
Yeah.
earth is this?
Yeah, okay,
gonna-
it's
not
not
gonna
just
look.
me. It's not
Alright,
just
well,
me.
Well, since we're talking about anime, Actus, you had mentioned that it was an influence on you early on. Were there any specifically besides Trigon that were big parts that kind of you drew from?
Let's see. Honestly, now that the Astro Boy was a huge one, my dad had a
Oh.
bunch of the CDs, and whenever I got sick, we had this little DVD player. We'd set me up with the DVD player and Astro Boy CD, and I just watched through
Aw.
like an entire season. So definitely, Astro
that is
Boy
a
was
deep
probably
cut.
huge. Yeah.
That's
But
awesome,
beyond
man.
that, like definitely a lot of the I was never into Naruto. I did see it and I thought it was cool, but I didn't have a TV for very long. My parents, we had one of those old, the giant TVs in our family room, and the guinea pig cages were right next to it.
Oh no.
And I'm still convinced that I don't think this is what they think, but I'm still convinced one of the pigs peed out the cage and shorted it. Because one day it was working and it never worked again, and we didn't use it enough to ever bother replacing it. So I think I saw like 3 episodes of Naruto when I was younger, and then no more TV. So most of what I watched was like the bootleg stuff online.
My wife used to keep guinea pigs, so yeah, I can kind of believe that.
Yeah, I
They're
would
little-
absolutely believe that.
They're little.
They peed
bastards.
on 3 of Rick's TVs and shit in his speaker.
One did piss on my homework once. That was a legitimate excuse. I did still bring it to class. I brought it and I was like, "Here, you can have this, but I don't know if you want it."
I know you're not going to believe me if you don't have to smell this, so... What do you mean biohazard?
Oh boy.
This sounds like the class project you mentioned earlier. You hand them pages full of piss and hope they don't look at them.
Well, I mean, the worst they are, there's got to be a point where they're so bad they just don't check. Right? So, I mean, it's like a parabola.
It's like, oh god, he's in my class again. Every project he hands in is covered in guinea pig piss.
Yeah.
Not this kid again.
See, for me, that threshold would be any amount of piss.
Here's an A. Leave.
Yeah.
They just have a special turn-in box for me, and
Yeah.
it leads right into a trash can.
Right, straight to the incinerator. Just
That would just make the whole class smell like piss.
because the teacher's not going to suffer alone.
There we go.
Shit rolls downhill, as they say.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this is your third series under this pen name so far, and that you tend to close them out as you go. I don't want to pen you in, but I'm just curious from your planning perspective. Do you go into this one knowing how many will be in the My Best Friend is an Eldritch Horror series, or is it sort of a map as you go situation?
It's definitely like I don't have like it's definitely going to be 6 books or anything like that. I do have an ending in mind. I'm getting closer to the ending on my document. It'll probably end up being 5 or 6 books, somewhere around there. So definitely my longest series to date, because everything else has been a trilogy. It just kind of depends how I'm feeling. Like, I'm still enjoying the story, so I want to continue writing it. But I can also tell at some point I'm going to be like, all right, I think I kind of have explored the arcs for the characters. I've done what I wanted to do. There's no point continuing this, because then it's just going to turn into the endless slog of, he fights new bad guy number 47, who has the exact same abilities as the previous guy, but he's stronger. So, yeah, probably 5 or 6 books, somewhere in that range. Whenever I decide it's done, then I'll just stop it. But, I don't know. That'll give me room to open a new series.
5 or 6 is a healthy amount for a series.
Yeah.
Trilogies are good too. I need to start writing shorter series.
No, not necessarily. I mean, you know something. Even though the author might be a terrible person, I always thought Harry Potter was like at 7 was a pretty good size for a series.
Yeah. Even if the last book was really cheesy, please don't. Someone's going to execute me for that.
I don't think anybody's going to bat for her anymore.
Yeah, it's like 300 pages of wandering
pretty freely on Harry Potter these days. It's not the sacrilege it once was.
Yeah. I think I read online somewhere, it felt like Harry Potter named his kids like in a fan fiction. And I was like, yeah,
Yes.
that lines up.
It does. Yeah, that.
Oh god,
Oh.
fucking hate the ride at that park. Goddamn name. It's like one thing. I went before we found out she was a piece of shit, so that was good. I got to enjoy that full. Then that goddamn Azkaban ride. Oh, that thing will kill you. Yeah, I was gonna say, having a good ending in mind is always a strong idea. Knowing when to end is definitely good. One piece of advice I picked up is never commit to a set number of books if you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't. I definitely avoid that. I try to hit 3.
I learned that lesson with Superpowered's Year 4, which clocked in at 460-something thousand words because I said it was a 4-book series, so it had to be like it had to end on 4 books. So.
And Superpowered was an absolute banger, though. It's like one of the top progression fantasy ever written, dude. It's so good.
Thank you, man. I had a lot of fun with it. I just maybe if I could do it again, I probably would have set it up so I didn't have to cram all of that into one year. might have given myself the option for a fifth book in there.
It's ironic because I'm over here like, man, I want to start new series. I don't want to keep doing the same one. But if Superpowers had went on for like 5 more books, I would have been all for it.
Well, I think that is the testament to an ending, though, is that when you end before you hit the endless slog, you want to end and people go, I really could keep going, not, ooh,
Thank
that's
God.
fucking done.
Yeah.
That's a good point, yeah.
There is a downside, though, because with Last Coven, which is the final tome of Bill book, like the sales actually went down for that because I had a lot of people reach out to me. They're like, I really enjoyed this series. I don't want it to end, so I'm not going to read the last book. I was like, no, read the last book.
God, no.
You're killing me.
I've had people tell me that. For some of my trilogies, they're like, man, I like this so much, I don't want it to end, so I'm just going to stop. I'm like, so you just made it end earlier.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah. That's not how that works.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Don't make me show up to your house and spoil it.
Gonna whisper the ending while you're
Your
sleeping.
Your response every time is just like, everybody died. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Just promise to release a new book and just have everyone dead. It's just an obituary. That's the new book.
So we talked a little bit about superpowers and serials. I will say, I always joked that if I had to end superpowers in a realistic way, it would be them talking and then mid-sentence everyone just dies. Because somewhere in the world a super with apocalypse powers killed everyone. Like, it's just, when you have people who have that as an ability, it's like, sooner or later.
Yeah.
But,
would,
you know,
man, I
fantasy
would have
is
loved to
supposed to be
see the
realistic.
reviews.
Yeah. So what
Oh,
do you
God.
want for dinner? The end.
Yeah.
The reviews would
guys,
have
I
been
love you.
incredible.
Boom. Oh, man.
Boy, those reviews would have been fun.
Yeah. We are coming to the end of our time. Actus, is there anything you want to plug aside from Greenblood, which we have talked about, and of course we will have linked in the description for folks who are listening along?
Honestly, that's the main thing in the near future, unless if anyone likes webtoons, kind of keep an eye out for either Avon or me independently, because we're both doing some comics. I got 3 of them coming out, so kind of keep an eye out for those. Hopefully those should be pretty cool. But aside from that, yeah, just if anyone likes my work, just follow me on Amazon, I guess. That's the main spot I really put stuff out now.
Awesome. Well, the book is Greenblood. The series is My Best Friend is an Eldritch Horror, available in print, Kindle, and audio all at once. That'll, I know, make a big chunk of our audience very happy. We have some big audio fans out there, so I think that is one they will appreciate. Actus, thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we appreciate you listening. We'll see you next week for the resumption of our campaign of Authors and Dragons. Actually, we'll be starting the final chapters of Chronicles of Calamity. That's right. Our main game that's been going for years is coming to a conclusion, but there's still a lot of shit to fuck up along the way. So join us for that. I'll be back next week. Until then, bye.
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 Goodbye, friends.